As with every industry, as sure as the sun will rise and somehow ever make it through the perennial fog that surrounds Britain, so too will there be businesses that have direct rivalries with each other. Microsoft, Nintendo, Sega, Sony all have vied for our time, and so, at points in their tenure, have stooped to taking jabs at one another in order to get the edge on their competitors. And trust me, these snide asides come in many, many forms, from in-jokes, character references, branding themselves as the Call of Duty killer or Fortnite killer or whatever, or even reminding the world that Sega does what Nintendo don't. So today we're going to revel in these ridiculous wars of words and online warriors and get out our big beefy sticks and slap them all over the place. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games that pushed petty feuds. Number 8. The No-Hopers. Donkey Kong Country 2: Diddy's Conquest. The early to mid-1990s saw Nintendo and Sega locked in a bitter feud, each of them trying to outshine the other in the hopes of being the only entertainment system in households across the world. Super Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog, as the company's respective mascots, became their champions, who would routinely take big old dumps on the other across marketing campaigns before finally putting down their weapons and joining forces to make obscene amounts of money. However, before this peace treaty, there was a particularly petty moment that you could find in Donkey Kong Country 2, which had all of Nintendo's flagship characters deliver a collective blow to both Sonic and another popular platformer character of the era, Earthworm Jim. Upon defeating King K. Rool, Diddy and Dixie enter the Cranky's Video Game Heroes Hall of Fame, where the players' DK coins are added up and rivaled against Mario, Yoshi, and Link. But in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen is a hand-painted sign that says No Hopers, and next to the sign are 2 recognizable items: Sonic's red and white sneakers and Earthworm Jim's gun. Now, despite being released on the SNES, Earthworm Jim seemed to be a target simply by not being a Nintendo exclusive, which seems a little unfair, although seeing as we've not seen Earthworm Jim since 1999, maybe the sign was right. Number 7. Back and Forth Feuding. Grand Theft Auto and True Crime. At the height of its popularity on the PlayStation 2, the Grand Theft Auto series was skewering everyone and everything it possibly could. Nothing within the pop culture spectrum was safe from GTA's profane brand of satire, and it was almost a badge of honor to be lampooned in some way by Rockstar's Behemoth. Wanting in on this sort of respect through insulting, Activision's True Crime games, themselves notorious GTA clones, also tried their hand at parody. In the first entry, True Crime Streets of LA, billboards can be seen advertising jock straps featuring a man's barely covered crotch and a logo suspiciously similar to Rockstar's. Once they'd got wind of this bizarre rib, Rockstar in retaliation featured billboards in GTA San Andreas for True Grime Street Cleaners with the slogan, "Get rid of old rubbish fast." True Crime then hit back once again with a remark from protagonist Marcus Reed complaining during a side mission that he'll be flying remote-controlled toys and an obvious reference to San Andreas's universally despised Zero missions. And yet, while all of this incredibly highbrow comedy was going on, Grand Theft Auto was storming ahead of True Crime in both sales and critical reception, and it got to the point that the barbs from TC were just petty and jealous, and if Rockstar carried on with them, it would have just been like dancing on someone else's grave. Thankfully, this meant the feud was finally over. Number 6. The Dead Assassin. The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings. The Witcher trilogy is full of nods to other media franchise, be they other games, films, or literature. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt, for example, contains numerous references to Skyrim, with city guards ordering no lollygagging, much like Skyrim's hold guards. And archers on Gwent cars declare that they always aim for the knee. Ha ha. Some of these nods are a little more caustic though, such as a mage's magical defense system that has backfired on him, known as the Defensive Regulatory Magicon, which is a reference to the controversial DRM implementations in many modern video games. But it's The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings, however, that contains a much more direct riff on a successful franchise. As early on in the game, during an assault on a castle, you can come across a dead body splayed out on the ground amongst a pile of hay. The corpse, clad in white robes, is an obvious reference to the protagonists of the Assassin's Creed series, and their penchant from diving from ludicrous heights into hay carts, which in real life would go about as well as you would trying to jump from a moving train, aka not very Furthermore, finding the body will also net the player a new character ability named Assassin, rewarding them with increased damage from attacks from behind. And in classic fashion, our favourite Witcher simply looks solemnly at the body and then remarks, I guess they'll never learn. Number 5. Apology Mode, Jazz Jackrabbit. Published by Epic in 1994, Jazz Jackrabbit was a kind of pastiche of many platforming mascots of the time, and though it didn't reach nearly the same level of recognition, it has enjoyed some cult status over the years. Yet despite being barely up to the waists of other older franchises, Jazz wasn't afraid to take a few shots below the belt. One such target they had in their sights was Apogee Software, at the time a leading studio responsible for successful titles like Rise of the Triad and Crystal Caves, and they were also the publisher of Wolfenstein 3D and the Commander Keen series. Now, pausing Jazz Jackrabbit and typing in the cheat code Apogee would activate Apology Mode, which reduced the graphics to a 16-color EGA palette and dropped the frame rate significantly. This was a clear dig at Apogee's use of EGA graphic modes, when the industry standard by this point was the superior 256-color palette. Beautiful. A brilliant joke at the expense of its rivals, and it's not like Epic wasn't able to go on and back up their jabs, because as we well know, with the Unreal Engine and Fortnite under their belts now, this is a company showing no signs of slowing. Number 4. The Corpse of Commander Keen, Doom 2 and Doom 2016. Before Doom, id Software saw success with Wolfenstein 3D, but before Wolfenstein 3D, the studio was a pioneer in developing side-scrolling platformers for home computers in the form of Commander Keen. The series was massively influential and has been referenced and paid homage to by dozens of later titles. Sadly, the success of Wolfenstein 3D led id Software to shift their focus to third-person shooters, and the Keen series was effectively over. id themselves acknowledged the death of Commander Keen in rather morbid fashion in 1994's Doom 2, where a secret map by the name of Grosser features a final room in which 4 clones of Keen's sprite are seen hanging from nooses. Ooh. The player can, and indeed must, shoot or punch these bodies until they explode into classic Doom-style giblets, with Keen's head finally resting on top of them. And remember, this is the only way to complete this level. They wanted you to see this. Doom 2016 also references Commander Keen's fate. Upon arriving in Hell, the player can find a skull on a spike wearing Keen's familiar yellow and green American football helmet. However, if you think that this was the final joke at Commander Keen's expense, then just take a look at what Bethesda have done with the series, as they've turned it into a free-to-play mobile climbing game. Jesus, that one wasn't funny at all. Number 3. Mortified Penguin, Splinter Cell. The Splinter Cell series are packed to the brim with subtle jokes at the expense of other games, most notably its primary rival Metal Gear. In the series' second entry, Pandora Tomorrow, Fisher and Lambert have an exchange over the ridiculous codename of an enemy agent, Mortified Penguin. This is an obvious dig at Foxhound's adjective plus animal naming system, which of course has boasted such names as Decoy Octopus and Laughing Wallaby, and the less said about Shoot Gunner the better. Furthermore, in Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, some guards, when interrogated, will joke about Metal Gear's idiosyncratic hold-up system, saying, "What, you think if you shake me enough a bunch of bullets will fall out of my pockets?" In kind, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake vs. Monkey mode saw Snake complain that such a humiliating task should be turfed out to Sam or Gabe, referencing both Sam Fisher and Gabe Logan of Siphon Filter. But don't go thinking that these were barbs of hatred, because this rivalry calmed down over the years, with the final crossing of paths occurring in Ghost Recon's Wildlands, in which Fisher mentions one other skilled infiltrator like him who wore a bandana or something, before wistfully looking into the middle distance as if paying respects to a lifelong rival. Number 2. Water vs. Red Bull, Dying Light. The growing allegiance between video game developers and energy drink manufacturers is a worrying and insidious one, with popular new releases being bundled with packs of beverages such as Monster Energy, which encourages children to stay up all night chugging the over-caffeinated garbage, likely resulting in heart attacks at like 17. It's pretty grim. But you know what? My own moralizing aside, Techland, the developers of the brilliant and underrated Dying Light, threw some serious shade at Destiny developers Bungie after Activision forced Bungie to put out a very strange promotion. Now, Bungie had announced that by buying specific cans of Red Bull, players would gain access to a one-off XP boost and a quest exclusive to anyone looking to, well, how do I put this bluntly, their lungs out after a sip or two of that stuff? Techland's response to this was to launch its own campaign, where players were rewarded with a premium weapon cachet for tweeting a photo of themselves drinking a glass of water, accompanied by the hashtag #DrinkRightDyingLight. Their initial tweet, reading "We're jumping on the latest trend in game marketing," included a promotional image almost identical in layout to Bungie's Red Bull promo, featuring a simple glass of water in the center. The promotion was wildly successful and is an absolutely priceless swing at a company whose marketing, let's face it, has become increasingly cynical over the years. And number 1, power armor and other ill-advised jabs. Duke Nukem Forever. The Duke Nukem series is no stranger to taking a jab at its competitors. 1996's Duke Nukem 3D has the titular hero quipping, "That's one doomed space marine," at the sight of a mutilated but rather familiar corpse, and "I ain't afraid of no quake," when a brief tremor shakes the room that he's in, these being playful references to id properties Doom and Quake respectively. The later games take similar jabs at industry contemporaries, but with much less success rates. For example, when presented with some green armor reminiscent of Master Chief's getup, Duke responds with, "Power armor is for pussies." And in a later stage in the game has a character who resembles Marcus Phoenix joking at his friend's expense, calling him a pussy for trying to find his wife, which is a clear dig at Dom's subplot from Gears of War. However, where Duke 3D was rightfully well regarded and acknowledged its competitors with some light-hearted ribbing, Duke Nukem Forever holds precisely zero clout with which to make these claims. It sold far less, was badly designed, and for all of its mocking of other icons, at least they didn't disappear for years only to return still trying to party like it was the 90s when the world had clearly moved on. The big light is on, Duke, and you reek of cheap cigars and piss, so go home and stop playing with the turds in the toilet. This is definitely a one-sided rivalry which Duke's targets immediately won through just ignoring this idiot. And there we go, those were 8 video games that pushed petty feuds. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and I hope that whatever you are getting up to today, you go out there and absolutely smash it. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me at RetroJ over on Twitter. And as always, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.